Yharnam was a city built on the promise of miracles, a place where the sick came to die, and the desperate came to be reborn. Deep beneath the ground, the scholars found a medium, a blood that could heal any wound and grant sight to the blind. The church rose to power, distributing the blood as a holy sacrament, turning a medical mystery into a divine mandate. But the blood held a curse, a slow corruption that twisted the human form into something primal and ravenous. When the sun set, the bells rang out, signaling the start of the hunt, where neighbors became monsters and friends became prey. Men of the city took up saws and torches, their eyes clouded by fear and bloodlust as they patrolled the cobblestone streets. A massive creature was nailed to a cross and set ablaze, a warning to the shadows that the city would not fall without a fight. Into this madness stepped a stranger, a hunter from a distant land, bound by a contract they did not fully understand. The weapon was heavy, a jagged piece of steel designed to rend flesh and bone with a single brutal stroke. The heart of the city was a labyrinth of locked doors and weeping voices where the stench of copper filled the air. A father, once a hunter himself, now sat among the corpses, his mind lost to the very beast he swore to kill. A tiny melody played in the distance, a reminder of a family that no longer existed and a promise that was broken. His skin tore and his bones snapped as the father embraced the beast within, leaving his humanity in the dust of the cemetery. Spark and steel collided in the moonlight as the hunter fought to survive the fury of a man who had become a monster. Further down the path lay the district they burned to the ground, a place where the beasts were left to rot in the ashes. A lone protector watched from the clock tower, firing a hail of lead to keep the hunters away from the innocent monsters below. In the depths of the ruined church, a flayed creature weighted its skin, hanging like a cloak of meat and misery. Silent sentinels guarded the cathedral ward, massive pale figures with bells and axes, who moved with a ghostly grace. Inside the grand cathedral, a woman prayed her voice, a desperate whisper, before the skull of a forgotten master. As the prayer ended, she screamed her body, warping into a massive white-furred beast, a twisted angel of the healing church. Beyond the city limits lay a forest where the trees whispered secrets and the path was swallowed by a living darkness. The men here were no longer human, their heads replaced by a writhing mass of vipers, a testament to the growth of the corruption. 3 cloaked figures guarded the path to the university, silent executioners wielding fire and steel in the name of a forgotten queen. At the edge of the lake stood Byrgenwerth, the birthplace of the healing church and the source of the forbidden knowledge that doomed the world. The old master sat on his rocking chair, his eyes covered and his mind floating in the vast ocean of the cosmos. Look into the water and see the truth, for beneath the surface hides the key to the ritual that keeps the nightmare alive. A great one, hidden in the depths, a mindless creature protecting the world from a reality it was never meant to see. With the spider dead, the illusion shattered, and the true face of the world was finally revealed to the screaming stars. The moon turned a deep, visceral red, hanging over the city like a giant bleeding eye, watching the birth of a nightmare. The ritual reached its peak in the unseen village, where the walls were built with bones, and the air tasted of iron and rot. They were always there, watching from the rooftops, massive multi-armed gods that the human eye was too weak to perceive. The chime of the bells echoed through the empty streets, summoning the dead to rise, and the living to lose their minds. A mass of limbs and organs fell from the moon, a god made of human waste, brought into the world by a desperate prayer. Academic pursuit led only to madness as the students were turned into slime, lost in a dream that would never end. A silver tongue and a spider's body, a trickster lurking in the shadows, waiting to push the unwary into the abyss. A distorted landscape of tombstones and shipwrecks, where the wind carried the cries of things that should not exist. The Tower of Mensis loomed in the distance, a monument to the hubris of men who tried to become gods. To look upon the truth is to feel your brain burn. To witness the cosmos is to embrace a frenzy of the soul. A man wearing a cage of iron, running through a labyrinth of his own, making, laughing at the absurdity of existence. At the highest point of the nightmare, a cradle sat empty, waiting for the cry of a child that was never truly born. A haunting sound echoed through the highest terraces, the weeping of an infant, formless and unseen, trapped between dimensions. Below the loft, a queen in a blood-stained dress stood silently staring into the void, mourning a child she could never hold. A shadow descended from the sky, a terrifying guardian draped in dark cloth, wielding blades forged in the abyss. The creature moved like a phantom, an endless flurry of steel, meant to slice the intruder into 1,000 pieces. Suddenly, the light vanished, and the arena plunged into absolute blackness, where only the glint of the swords revealed the danger. With a heavy swing, the hunter shattered the phantom, the dark robes falling away into nothingness. The crying ceased, the nightmare shuddered, and a profound, terrifying silence washed over the realm of Mensis. The pale queen bowed her head in gratitude, her curse finally lifted as she faded into the cold wind. The task was done, the hunt was over, and the dream beckoned the hunter back for the final time. But the sanctuary was no longer safe. The workshop was engulfed in flames, burning the history of the hunt to ash. The porcelain doll watched the fire, her voice soft and melancholic as she pointed towards the great tree in the garden. A field of white flowers swayed beneath a pale sky, untouched by the flames, a quiet graveyard for forgotten heroes. Under the massive branches sat the old master, resting in his wheelchair, waiting to deliver the final mercy. You have done well, good hunter. The night is near its end. Now, submit your life and wake up under the morning sun. He offered a clean death, an escape from the dream, so the hunter could return to the waking world and forget this tragedy. But the hunter refused. The truth was too heavy, and the cycle of the dream needed to be broken once and for all. The old man sighed, rising from his chair for the first time, releasing his weapon to grant death by force. Dear, oh dear, what was it? The hunt, the blood, or the horrible dream? Oh, it does not matter. It always comes down to the hunter's helper. He moved with impossible speed, a hurricane of silver and wind, slicing through the field of white petals. Student and teacher locked in a deadly waltz, their weapons sparking against the backdrop of a burning sanctuary. Gehrman tapped into the old hunter arts, teleporting through the fog, a phantom of an era long dead. Beaten and exhausted, the old master looked up to the sky, accepting his fate as the final blow was struck. The first hunter fell, his duty ended, his soul finally freed from the chains of the long night. But the master of the dream was not pleased. The sky turned a deep crimson as a horrific presence descended from the stars. A god of the cosmos landed in the garden, a creature of bones, tentacles, and an unimaginable cosmic dread. The Great One reached out, pulling the hunter into a cold embrace, attempting to bind a new surrogate to the dream. But the hunter had consumed the forbidden knowledge. The gods of the Old Ones pulsed within their blood, rejecting the gods' control. For the first time, a human stood equal to a god, raising their weapon against the architect of the endless night. The beast bled like any other, its cosmic flesh torn by the very iron it had helped to forge. With a final screech, the presence collapsed, its body dissolving into the fabric of the dream it created. The human form was gone, replaced by something new, an infant great one, born from the ashes of the old world. The doll approached, lifting the newborn god into her arms, a gentle smile on her porcelain face. "Are you cold?" "Oh, good hunter," she whispered, as humanity took its first terrifying step into the cosmos. Or perhaps, in another life, the hunter accepted death, waking up to the dawn, forgetting the horrors of the blood. Or worse, they took the master's place, bound to the wheelchair, guiding new hunters through the endless slaughter. But the truth of Yharnam remains locked in blood, a history of madness, ambition, and the fragile nature of men. Seek the old blood, but fear the consequences, for the void is always watching, waiting for its next vessel. The record is sealed, the nightmare is documented. Sleep well until the next hunt begins. You have been listening to the Graphic Lore Archive. Trust nothing but the dark. The archive is never truly silent for as long as there is darkness. There will be a story to tell. Subscribe to the archive and embrace the shadows that remain.